In this video, I'm going to show you what it's like to live with a robot dog that costs $130,000. I'll explain what these robotic pets are used for and what they're capable of doing. Now, before we dive in, this might seem like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, but robotic dogs have actually been around for quite a while. In fact, Sony introduced its first robot dog 25 years ago. However, it ended up being a failure due to a specific strategy they used, an attempt to combat piracy. Here's what happened. The robot dog was designed with artificial intelligence, meaning it could adapt to its owner, the home environment, and whatever it was taught. But the unique twist was that users could purchase different personalities for the dog, similar to how video games come on cartridges. The real surprise? These robotic dogs were so advanced in their movement that people started organizing robot dog soccer tournaments. To make this work, developers needed to program the dog, so Sony distributed development kits. However, these kits ended up being shared online, allowing users to modify the robot dogs however they wanted. From there, things took an unexpected turn. People were able to teach their robot dogs new tricks, unlock extra features, and even install different components. In fact, some robots could eventually recharge themselves, all thanks to the creativity of users. However, this caused a major problem for the company. Since users were modifying the robots on their own, they no longer needed to buy the official cartridges. In response, the company shut down websites, closed forums, and restricted access to these modifications. As a result, public interest in the robot plummeted, and sales dropped dramatically. Realizing their mistake, the company decided to release the modification tools as an official app, allowing users to customize their robots freely. This move reignited interest, and sales picked up again. The robot continued to sell for multiple generations. In Japan, some people grew so attached to their robot dogs that when they eventually broke down, they even held funerals for them. And in true robotic fashion, these ceremonies weren't led by a human priest, but by another robot dog. The problem with this robot was that it didn't have much practical use. What could you really do with it? It was basically like a Furby, just shaped like a dog. That's why humanoid robots started to gain more popularity. They had hands, facial expressions, and could perform tasks similar to humans. Some robots were initially designed to carry objects or open doors, but in reality, it was much more efficient to just put wheels and trays on them. That's why robotic arms became the go-to solution for assembly lines, while the concept of full humanoid robots took a backseat. However, humanoid robots didn't disappear completely. Some models were developed specifically to interact with people, like a customer service bot, similar to those automated phone assistants, but with a face, arms, and the ability to move around. They were designed to be more approachable and less creepy than a basic wheeled box with robotic arms. With cute features like ears and even a little tail, they could be used in places like hotel receptions or shopping malls. Plus, they could be programmed to do fun things like dancing, making them more engaging for people. This robot was definitely more advanced. It actually looked somewhat normal. It had a body, a head, eyes, ears, and even touch-sensitive features. Its hands were designed with a rubber-like material to grip objects better, but its base still relied on wheels, making it ideal for smooth surfaces. That's why developers continued working on robotic dogs, because with 4 legs they achieved much better stability. These robots could walk on different terrains, climb stairs, and handle rough surfaces much more effectively. Honestly, it looks like something straight out of Black Mirror. Kind of eerie, right? And wow, look at the speed on this thing. Let's see if it can give me a paw. Oh, nice. It's got some serious strength too. If this thing kicks you, you'd definitely feel it. It can even jump. Not just little hops, but proper forward jumps. That's impressive. Honestly, it jumps about as well as I do. This level of mobility puts these robotic dogs way ahead of other robots that rely on wheels for movement. These robots weren't just limited to rolling around on wheels. They could also run, jump, spin, and even get back up if they fell over. And apparently, they can fight too? Wait, did you just say it can hit? Now that's something I have to see. Battle mode activated. While these robots are mainly designed as work tools, to access areas that are too dangerous for humans due to toxic chemicals, hazardous environments, or legal restrictions, They're technically classified as furniture, which allows them to go places where humans might not be allowed. They can be used for security, surveillance, or even exploring risky zones where a human life could be at stake. But, of course, what I really wanted was to see if it could behave like a real dog. So I stopped by a pet store to test it out. Could it chase a ball, play with a squeaky toy, walk on a leash? Well, okay, maybe the leash isn't necessary, and at least I don't have to brush or groom it. No need for a dog bed either, definitely a money saver. Oh, and the coolest part? You can see everything the robot sees through your phone, not just with a regular camera, but also through its built-in sensors. And you can command it to do all sorts of things. Alright, let's push it to the limit. Show us what you've got. Oh wait, not here. This is important stuff. Okay, two-legged mode? What? That was completely unnecessary, but also kind of impressive. What this robot can do really depends on what you're willing to let it do. Some things could even be a bit dangerous if you push it too far. But hey, we're here to test it out, right? If something goes wrong, well, just don't blame me. After all, this thing costs $18,000, and I'd rather not be the one responsible for breaking it. At first, I thought of it as just a remote-controlled gadget with legs, but it turned out to be way more advanced. It could do handstands, flips, and all sorts of crazy tricks. Something your average dog definitely can't do. Well, except for that one dog I once saw peeing while doing a handstand. That was impressive. Of course, there are limits to what you should do with it. Like, no, don't try that. We don't need our future robotic overlords coming after us for revenge. And the way it turns and stares at me with its sensor light? Yeah, I don't trust that. But after seeing everything this robot dog could do, I had to find out how people would react if they saw me casually walking one down the street. Let's just say, it definitely turned some heads. There are two important things to keep in mind. This robot weighs 18 kilograms, so if it can climb stairs on its own, that's definitely a plus. But it also costs $18,000, about $1,000 per kilogram. So the last thing you want is for it to trip on a step and break into pieces. It moves fast, almost like it's in fast-forward mode. Now imagine that thing sprinting straight at you. Yeah, not exactly a comforting thought. Chasing after it didn't seem like the best idea either, so we came up with something even dumber. Trying to follow it on a unicycle. Was this the most ridiculous thing we've ever done? Probably. But hey, the robot climbed up like it was nothing. Meanwhile, we humans, struggling. The kids watching us? Yeah, they were probably questioning their life choices just as much as we were. And let's be real, this thing doesn't even have a mouth, so I can't exactly reward it with a treat. But whatever, it still counts. After all that running, we decided to test its battery life. And surprisingly, it could last about an hour and a half at full speed. Not bad for keeping up with a robot dog. Plus, its stabilization was insane. It stayed balanced even on soft terrain like grass. At one point, it even looked like a giant spider crawling across the ground. And then, wait a second, did it just talk? When I was messing around with the controls, the robot suddenly said, "I'm here." That caught me off guard. I thought, wait, does it actually want to talk to people too? So I figured, why not see how others react? I walked it over to a random person and, well, let's just say it became the ultimate wingman. Picture this. A robot dog breaking the ice for tech nerds. Hey, nice to meet you. Also, check out my futuristic pet. Overall, it brought smiles to pretty much everyone. But the initial reaction from most guys was more like, nope, I'm out of here. This thing looks like it's about to attack me. Meanwhile, if I kept a little distance and let the robot do some tricks, people's reactions quickly turned into, oh, that's adorable. I just want to hug it. And of course, plenty of laughter. People were losing it. If I really think about it, the only reason I'd personally own a robot dog would be the same reason people get a regular dog. For fun and companionship. But let's be honest, spending $18,000 on one doesn't make much sense unless you're using it either as a high-tech party trick to entertain people or, as I mentioned earlier, for jobs that are too dangerous for humans. Otherwise, probably not worth it. Touching its little paw? Yeah, sure, no big deal. But let's be real. This is the small, cute, and more affordable version. The real deal, the one from Boston Dynamics, is twice as heavy and costs nearly 10 times more. That doesn't mean I was going to stop messing around with this one, though. This thing has 360-degree cameras all around. Pretty cool. And honestly, the interface works surprisingly well. Then again, for something that costs $130,000, you'd hope it runs smoothly. But wow, this thing is fast. Watching it move is honestly unsettling. It has such sharp, precise movements that give off serious horror movie vibes. And when it stomps on the ground, yeah, that's 30 kilograms of force hitting the floor. In theory, it shouldn't hurt you because it's designed to avoid obstacles. In theory. So naturally, we had to test that. I put my hand under one of its legs, just to see what would happen. And then someone had the bright idea of standing underneath it to see if it could walk right over them. Yeah, sure, go ahead. The moment it stepped down, oh boy, that hurt. Definitely not what I was expecting. The amount of force in each leg comes from a motor connected to a lead screw mechanism. It's like slamming your hand in a door. Even with the smaller, cheaper version, I had tried lifting one of its legs earlier and it was nearly impossible. So imagine the full-size model stepping on you. And of course, after all that, I still tried the classic, give me your paw trick. Big mistake. That was not the gentle shake I was hoping for. So after walking away with a nice little bruise as a souvenir, I moved on to the bigger question. What happens if one of these shows up in your everyday life? So what's the most effective way to take one of these down? I mean, I see this tube here, and my first instinct would be to taka. Just go for it. Like, imagine this thing comes at me, pins me down. What's my move? The answer I got was simple. It can run up to 1.6 meters per second. So in theory, if you can run faster than that, you might be able to escape. But let's be real, 1.6 meters per second is pretty fast. And considering it can keep going for 90 minutes straight, yeah, good luck outrunning it. So flipping it over, not an option. It takes a moment to right itself, but it will figure it out and keep going. This thing is constantly adjusting to stay balanced, and no matter what obstacles are in its way, it always tries to correct its position. And here's the kicker. If you put your hand in the wrong place, yeah, it'll crush it. At the end of the day, though, I realize that this is basically just a fancy remote-controlled robot, unless you program it with specific tasks. Otherwise, it's just waiting for commands. You can tell it to do whatever you want, but let's be real. No one is actually going to spend $130,000 just to have a robotic pet long-term. One of the biggest downsides, aside from the ridiculous price, is that it doesn't have any real autonomy. You can't just let it roam freely and then call it back whenever you want. Instead, you have to control it manually with a remote or program its movements from a computer using preset routes and actions. Personally, I was hoping for something that felt more like a real pet, a companion that would never get sick or age and could always be repaired. But apparently, even with all this advanced technology, most of these high-end robots are still remotely controlled by someone behind the scenes. That's what got me thinking. Take, for example, Tesla's upcoming humanoid robots. I bet they'll be designed to function with VR-based remote control, meaning someone could physically work through them from a distance. Imagine wearing a VR headset and gloves at home while controlling a physical machine in another location, moving its hands, interacting with objects, and performing tasks. That's probably where the future is headed. As for robotic dogs, they'll likely ditch the legs for wheels to become even more efficient. Let's be honest, four-legged movement looks cool, but wheels are way more practical and stable for everyday use. It makes more sense for these robots to have wheels since they'd be faster and more efficient. But am I the only one slightly freaked out by the idea of a future where hundreds of these robotic dogs are chasing people down the street? I mean, think about what drones can do now, and they only have about 20 minutes of battery life. Now imagine an army of tireless, unstoppable robots. That's a terrifying thought, and even when you turn it off and have to pick it up, it still feels unsettling. How do I grab it from here? No, not there. Right here. Oh, okay. It feels like I'm picking up a dead body. This is creepy. Spending this much money just to end up carrying it around like that? Yeah, kinda weird. And honestly, as a toy, I've seen way cooler things for way less money. Take the Optimus Prime Transformer toy, for example. It actually transforms from a truck into a fully functional robot. It has 5,000 pieces, 27 motors, and 60 microchips, and costs less than $600. You can control it, move its little fists, and even walk it around. But what's even crazier is that you can program it without even using a computer. Just move its arms, head, and body manually, and it learns from that. Plus, you can download custom animations that let it dance, do karate, push-ups, whatever you can think of. As a toy, that's next level, even if it doesn't have a real purpose. Way cooler than a $130,000 robotic dog. So at the end of the day, forget dancing robots or overpriced robot dogs. The greatest robot of all time will always be Optimus Prime. Though I have to admit, Tesla's Optimus robot is looking pretty interesting too. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.